entwined in fate, the darkness they bring. Ryman, a father lost his heart, carved in pain. His daughter's ghost lingers dancing in the rain. Revenge must be taken, Chloe whispers with spite, but he sees in Chloe's eyes a flicker of light. Oh, the storm is rising with thunderous cries as the wind howls its sorrow and the darkened sky sighs. Ryman's heart breaks as he watches Chloe fall into the abyss, heedless of the call. Choose a path of mercy, let love be your guide, but her heart's a cold stone where hope cannot bide. He speaks of the Assassination, a shadowy bane, led by Zelma's hand, bringing torment and pain. Brutally, horribly, without a trace of grace, they tortured my daughter, left scars on her face. His voice quivers low, memories flood like a tide. A child's laughter silenced, hope violently denied. In the shadows of terror, Ryman's daughter faced her doom, blindfolded in silence where darkness would loom. With a whisper of malice, they played their cruel game. The sound of a gunshot, her heart filled with shame. Feel the cold steel they taunted with laughter so grim, as the specter of death danced in the light slowly dimmed. Bound in despair, her body a cage, each blow from their fist ignited her rage. Electric jolts coursed through her veins as they drowned her in water in a sea of her pain. Starved of her freedom, deprived of the light, in the grip of torment, she vanished from sight. Dawn in the states, exalting nos et misere, exalting dominus. Lord God, hear us and feel pity. Hear us, Lord, he cries in the night. Oh, the storm is rising with thunderous cries as the wind howls its sorrow and the darkened sky sighs. Ryman's heart breaks as he watches Chloe fall into the abyss, heedless of the call. Choose a path of mercy, let love be your guide. In a cabin red as blood, where shadows cling to souls entwined in fate, the darkness they bring. Ryman, the father, lost his heart, carved in pain. His daughter's ghost lingers, dancing in the rain. Revenge must be taken, Chloe whispers with spite, but he sees in Chloe's eyes a flicker of light. Oh, the storm is rising with thunderous cries as the wind howls its sorrow and the darkened sky sighs. Ryman's heart breaks as he watches Chloe fall into the abyss, heedless of the call. Choose a path of mercy, let love be your guide, but her heart's a cold stone where hope cannot bide. Zellner's hand, bringing torment and pain. Brutally hauled me without a trace of grace. They tortured my daughter, left scars.
In the intricate tapestry of Assassination Mission, we find ourselves at a curious intersection, a moment in this Japanese anime noir where the familiar faces of Mariel and Karika recede into the shadows, allowing Chloe to step into the limelight. This episode, devoid of its central characters, dares to explore the depths of another's soul. Herein lies both challenge and opportunity for the creators, as they navigate the rich intricacies of character development and the haunting consequences of vengeance. Chloe, our reluctant assassin, embarks on missions that take her to the Swiss Alps, where she is tasked with eliminating a former NATO member, and then further into the heart of Germany to hunt down a man named Zellner, a figure entwined with the dark underbelly of post-Berlin Wall narcotics trade. This narrative pulse beats with themes of retribution, yet it falters in the philosophical inquiry that characterizes its predecessor, Lost Kitten, an episode that wrestles with the enormity of sin and the possibility of atonement. As we dissect this episode, we cannot ignore the glaring shortcomings that plague this Noir narrative. Chloe's combat sequences often resemble a cartoonish escapade, an almost whimsical dance with death where bullets whiz by, and she dodges with an ease that undermines the lethal prowess established in earlier episodes. This so-called plot armor, where main characters glide through peril unscathed until the narrative demands otherwise, diminishes the stakes and strains credibility. Moreover, the constraints imposed by the television network, a reluctance to depict bloodshed, contributes to a surreal quality, as if these assassins, devoid of human frailty, traverse a landscape of moral ambiguity. In my estimation, this episode hovers at a B-, a mixed bag that, while it holds some merit, also reveals the cracks in its foundation. The early episodes serve as a robust introduction to a complex world, while the latter stretch, marred by hasty production and creative turmoil, struggles to maintain the same narrative integrity. It is a cautionary tale of how the art of storytelling can suffer when the clock ticks too loudly, drowning out the whispers of character depth and coherence. Yet, amid these critiques, Assassination Mission offers glimpses of Chloe's essence, her character unfolding in the cracks of the narrative. It is here we find the richness of her backstory, a necessary counterpoint to the one-dimensionality that threatens to define her. Ryman, too, is granted a complexity that elevates the stakes. So, with all that being said, let's dive into this episode scene by scene, you dirty motherfuckers. As the episode unfolds, we are greeted with Chloe, awakening in the soft embrace of morning light, a moment that initially misleads us into believing she resides in the familiar confines of her manor. Yet this is another location, and therein lies a deeper complexity. The audience is thrust into her intimate ritual, the donning of her attire accompanied by Altina's voiceover, a letter that reverberates with affection and obligation. My darling Chloe, I'm happy to know you've completed your safely assigned task. I anticipate your return from the bottom of my heart. However, I regret to inform you that you have one more job that I have for you before you return. This moment is rich with character building. The bond between Chloe and Altina transcends mere companionship, embodying a familial warmth reminiscent of a mother-daughter relationship, or perhaps the nuanced dynamics of an older sibling guiding a younger one. It is a complex interplay of love and expectation, a psychological tapestry woven with threads of mentorship and dependency. The scene shifts abruptly to a dark German warehouse, where two individuals lean against a blue car, shrouded in tension. The air thickens as Zellner enters, his strong German accent slicing through the suspense. I'm afraid you are wasting your time waiting. The horror that washes over the two men speaks volumes, a visceral response to the embodiment of dread before them. Zellner, with a sociopathic smirk, informs them of their impending doom, the implication of torture hanging heavily in the air. The promise of cruelty is a chilling reminder of the perils that lie in a world steeped in betrayal. Your friends left this world one step ahead of you, he says, as his henchmen, armed with Uzis, loom ominously. The two criminals, helpless against the tide of fate, are dragged off, their screams echoing in the chilling silence, a haunting prelude to the violence that defines this narrative. As we revel in these dark corners of character exploration, I can't help but ponder the potential depths of villains like Zellner and Ryman. Imagine, if you will, a series that delves into their psyches, eschewing the villain of the week formula. Picture a world where the consequences of revenge are meticulously unpacked, where these characters are given the space to breathe and evolve over multiple episodes. What if we explored Zellner's rise to power and Ryman's tragic fall, their lives intertwined in a perilous dance of destruction? Such narratives could illuminate the moral complexities that lie beneath the surface, providing fertile ground for rich storytelling. The camera then cuts to Zellner in his office, cold and calculating as he orders the assassination of Ryman in the Swiss Alps. The wall is gone, but the past remains, he declares, a chilling reminder of the past that haunts them both. His resolve is palpable, revealing the depths of his vendetta. In stark contrast, we are transported to the breathtaking Swiss Alps, where the beauty of nature is juxtaposed with the weight of impending doom. The vibrant colors of the landscape are almost surreal, yet the music, a melancholic blend of violin and synthesizer, reminds us of the somber reality lurking beneath the surface, echoing the themes of loss and despair that permeate this world. As Chloe approaches Ryman, the tension is palpable, a standoff reminiscent of classic westerns. Their eyes meet, hers filled with purpose, his with resignation. In this silent exchange, a narrative unfolds. She knows why she is there, and he acknowledges the inevitability of her mission. The strength of this noir lies in its well-crafted characters, each embodying distinct themes reflective of the human experience within this deadly world. Mariel's grudges, Karika's quest for identity, Nazarov's search for atonement, Altina's trauma, all these elements converge to form a rich narrative tapestry. Yet, with Ryman, the exploration of revenge feels underdeveloped, merely a backdrop to the tension that ultimately risks falling into the realm of cliché. As we delve deeper, we must recognize that while the tension is masterfully built, the true essence of storytelling lies in the exploration of these characters, their motivations, and the moral dilemmas they face. In this world of assassins, it is the depth of the human condition that captivates, and as we unravel each layer, we are left yearning for more than just the thrill of the hunt. Ryman looks at Chloe, a smirk playing on his lips, and says, "Your soldats? You come to kill me, I suppose." His tone drips with resignation, the kind you get when you know fate's knocking at your door. He then waves off his henchman, a move that catches Chloe off guard. Ryman slyly adds, "NATO still has threats hanging over my head for the shit I've done, or what's rattling around in here," tapping his temple. This line is pure gold for expository dialogue. It hints at his murky past with NATO, painting him as a morally ambiguous character who's seen some dark days. If the series chose to dive deeper into this, it could be a hell of a ride. "Let's take a walk through the Alps," Ryman invites, dismissing his bodyguard with a casualness that's almost patronizing. "Hans, calm down," he says, much like you tell a dog to settle. Ryman's gaze is sharp, a silent acknowledgement of the death that's creeping up on him. He's trying to take the reins of the situation, not just for himself, but for Hans, showing a surprising level of care. It's a glimpse into his character, revealing wisdom and a reluctance for unnecessary bloodshed that adds a layer of complexity to him. Now, here's a thought. At the series' end, Chloe dies, and I've always felt it would have hit harder if she reflected on Ryman's words about revenge being a web that ensnares the Avenger. Imagine the weight of that realization hitting her just before her end. Talk about powerful foreshadowing. It would echo the brilliance of Pulp Fiction, where Samuel L. Jackson's Ezekiel 25 verse 17 weaves through the narrative, not just as cold words before a kill but as a reflection of his inner turmoil. If they'd circled back to Ryman's influence on Chloe, it could have added a profound depth to the series, tying together the journeys of Karika, Mariel, and Chloe. As they meander through the stunning Alps, a haunting melody envelopes them, dominated by Japanese flutes and chanting in an Asian language. It's unsettling yet strangely soothing, creating an atmosphere thick with tension and unease. Chloe's attention drifts to the striking white and red flowers, and Ryman notes their alpine roses, a detail that reveals his knowledge of botany. They're paler than crimson and darker than pink, sheer marks, showcasing her precisionist art background. Cut to 6 men sent by Zelna, lurking in the shadows, ready to finish the job. Ryman and Chloe rest against a rock in a sun-drenched meadow. He muses, "The roads and meadows are filled with light. That's why I came here when I retired. The forests where I grew up in Germany were dark and terrible. They still are." This metaphor slices deep, revealing his haunted past and regret, foreshadowing darker revelations later in the episode. "I got my hands dirty," he says, bitterness creeping into his voice. "Sometimes I believed it was right. Other times, I did it blindly, just following the soldat's orders. I never questioned the reasons or the morality of my actions." That line hits hard, layered with complexity about his conscience. He then probes Chloe. "Do you know why the soldats ordered my death?" "I don't," she replies, a hint of coldness in her voice. "Even if you don't, you still intend to kill me," he states, a grim acknowledgement of her commitment. "Yes," she responds, the chill in her voice revealing her unwavering loyalty to her organization. As the squad moves in for an ambush, Chloe springs into action, quick as lightning. She throws a knife with deadly precision, taking down one of the attackers before Ryman hits the ground, dodging bullets like it's a damn game of dodgeball. She leaps into the air, channeling her inner superhuman, dispatching the remaining goons one by one. Sure, the fight is brutal and shocking, but it teeters on the edge of ridiculousness with Chloe's acrobatics. It's all a bit too fantastical, making it hard to take it seriously. When she finally takes down the squad leader with a knife straight between the eyes, slicing his black glasses in half, it's a dramatic flourish that feels more cartoonish than anything else. After the dust settles, Chloe turns to Ryman and his bodyguards, her demeanor as cold as ice. "I still intend to kill you," she states bluntly. "The reason I took out those men was that they were just getting in my way." Her words lay bare her sociopathic nature, reflecting a twisted sense of duty that's become all too familiar in their world. Ryman watches her, a mix of admiration and concern flickering across his face. You're resolute in your mission, aren't you? He replies, his voice low and thoughtful. There's a spark in his eyes, maybe a hint of respect for her unwavering commitment, or perhaps a grim realization of how deeply entrenched she is in this path. Chloe shrugs, a casual motion that belies the weight of her words. Duty is all I've got. It's what keeps me alive. The gravity of her statement hangs in the air, stark and unyielding, capturing the essence of her character and the dark world she inhabits. Ryman, sensing the intensity of the moment, leans back against the rock, contemplating the choices that have led them both to this grim intersection. You know, he muses, the road you're on doesn't end well. Revenge has a way of consuming those who seek it. Chloe's expression remains unreadable, a mask of determination. Maybe, but that's not my concern right now. I have a job to finish. As they stand amid the remnants of violence, the weight of their respective journeys looms large, each navigating a path riddled with shadows and regrets. Ryman, now more than ever, feels the burden of his past pressing down on him, while Chloe seems poised to dive deeper into the abyss, driven by a singular purpose. It's a precarious balance, both characters teetering on the edge of their fates, each a reflection of the other's struggles in this dark narrative. The three men stare at Chloe, surprised by her demeanor, which carries a hint of irritation. The scene shifts to Ryman and Chloe inside his log cabin, where they sip wine under the dim, flickering light of the fireplace. The walls, painted a deep blood red by the flames, cast a haunting glow around the room. Outside, the foliage appears a muted green, almost gray, as the wind howls, adding a chilling undertone to the dark blue sky above. The atmosphere is thick with the sense of impending doom, a representation of death that lingers, echoing the notion that killing can be as swift as the wind. As previously noted, this kind of foreshadowing has become a repetitive motif throughout the series. The recurring imagery of red or orange interiors often signals that someone is about to meet their end, and after witnessing this so many times, the effect loses its impact. Ryman breaks the tension by revealing his intelligence on the assassin squad. They're part of a group called the SXGT, he explains, a remnant of an old German National Security Bureau criminal faction. Their leader is a man named Konrad Zellner, who leveraged his knowledge to create a sprawling criminal network and amassed a fortune in illegal narcotics after the Berlin Wall fell. He continues, I was with NATO intelligence and we had our share of conflicts. It was a relentless, no-holds-barred struggle. His expression darkens as he reflects. We attacked and killed each other's families. What fools we were. I only understood the true foolishness of it all when I lost my own daughter. The camera zooms in on his eyes, capturing the sorrow and regret etched on his face, a shimmer of tears threatening to break free. Brutally, horribly, without mercy, he adds, his voice thick with emotion. Chloe responds, revenge always must be taken. This philosophy echoes one she absorbed from Altina, who stated in the previous episode, if love can save somebody, surely hate can save. Despite the ambiguity of her path, it's clear that Chloe is spiraling into her own cycle of destruction, deeply influenced by the teachings of both Soldats and Altina. Ryman counters, revenge becomes a bigger web that eventually snares everyone who seeks it. He concludes, I'm sorry if this dialogue seems pointless for a mercenary of the Soldats. The camera shifts to the alpine roses swaying in the wind outside, their movement intensifying as a metaphor for the looming presence of death. Chloe remarks that the wine is delicious, casually noting that the wine at the manor is even better, her tone not condescending but rather matter-of-fact. She shares that she lives with Altina. Ryman admits he's never met her, but then he realizes Chloe is part of Noir. It dawns on him that he's encountered a member of Noir, something he never expected, especially with Noir assigned such a task. I didn't think I'd ever meet one, he says, astonished. As Chloe moves behind him, the wind begins to pick up, and Ryman senses her intent. He knows she's about to strike, a swift motion reminiscent of a guillotine blade. My bodyguards know nothing about the Soldats, he pleads. Please spare them if you can. In this moment, despite the violence, a flicker of humanity shines through. Very well, she replies. I'm grateful, he says. The scene cuts away as she swiftly slits his throat off camera. The wind howls, and his wine glass shatters on the floor. As Yuki Kujura's Salvanos begins to play, the haunting lyrics fill the room. Dominus Deus, exaudi nos et miserere, exaudi Dominus. English translation. Lord God, hear us and feel pity, hear us, Lord. Hans enters the room, gun aimed at Chloe's forehead, his rage barely contained. Chloe remains unfazed. I made a promise to the general. I intend to keep it, she states. This signifies her obligation to duty and honoring Ryman's last wishes, but it also hints at a glimmer of mercy, possibly influenced by Ryman's story about his daughter. In a psychological twist, he might have seen Chloe as a surrogate daughter throughout their interaction. The two share a tense stare-down, reminiscent of a classic spaghetti western. Chloe walks out of the room, the gun still trained on her, her demeanor calm and collected. As she exits, the music swells, enveloping the scene in a dark energy. Dona nobis pacem, et dona eis requiem, salva nos, Deus. English translation. Grant us peace, and give them rest, "Save us, Lord God." As Chloe steps into the dimly lit hallway, the wind outside picks up, howling like an ominous specter. The atmosphere is thick with tension, the shadows dancing on the walls, almost as if they're alive with the weight of the moment. In the waning light of this episode, we find ourselves reflecting on the heart-wrenching cycle of revenge and its ramifications, a narrative woven with the threads of sorrow and regret. The moment Zellner receives the news of Ryman's death, declaring, "This is the greatest news since the fall of the Berlin Wall. NATO's old fox is dead," it is not merely a triumph for him, it is a chilling reminder of the fragility of life and the lengths one will go to assert power. As the dark tapestry unfolds, Chloe's presence looms large, marked by the unsettling yellow of the dead body outside Zellner's office, a stark indication that she has arrived, a harbinger of change. When she confronts Zellner, the fear etched on his face is palpable as he barks, "Who the hell are you? And what the hell do you want?" His desperate attempts to call for security, met only with silence, encapsulate the horror of feeling trapped, like a rat in a cage, echoing the existential dread that James Baldwin often explored through his characters. In a swift and brutal moment, Chloe asserts her dominance, dispatching Zellner with a knife, his life extinguished in a flash. As he crumples over his desk, she adorns him with 2 small Alp roses, a haunting juxtaposition of beauty amidst violence, underscored by the soothing yet eerie melody of her theme. This choice of music, a soft piano and mandolin, evokes a bittersweet nostalgia, a longing for innocence lost in a world ravaged by vengeance. Arriving at the manor, Chloe's reunion with Altina unfolds like a tender embrace between a child and a nurturing figure. "Welcome home," Altina says, and Chloe responds, "I am home," nestled in her arms like a lost lamb finding solace. Yet, beneath this touching moment lies a complexity that speaks to Chloe's emotional maturity, or lack thereof. At 16, 17, or 18, her childlike exuberance contrasts sharply with her violent surroundings, suggesting a stunted growth, a product of her upbringing steeped in the shadowy obligations of the soldats. "I have so much to tell you," she exclaims, her eyes alight with naive hope, reminiscent of a puppy eager to please its owner. Altina's invitation to share her tales is laced with manipulation, her belief in the second coming of Noir casting a long shadow over Chloe's fate. The relationship between Altina and Chloe, though poignant, illustrates a darker undercurrent of control, a high priestess wielding her power over the young assassin. While the episode shines a light on character relationships, it falls short in exploring the necessary depth that could have rendered the narrative more profound. Ryman's philosophy of revenge deserved more exploration. His tragic demise, though cathartic, feels rushed. The missed opportunity to delve into the backstory between him and Zellner leaves a void, a sense that we were robbed of a richer understanding of their motivations. As we reflect on the series as a whole, the underdeveloped villains of the Italian Mafia 2-part episodes stand in stark contrast to the complexities this episode hints at. Imagine a narrative that could have focused on Ryman, Zellner, and Chloe, stripping away the familiar faces of Karika and Mariel to reveal a fresh perspective on revenge and loyalty. In the end, this episode is a poignant reminder of the heartache intertwined with vengeance. Chloe's journey echoes the tragic consequences of trauma, loyalty, and the philosophies we choose to embody. The haunting theme of lost innocence resonates, leaving us with a sense of melancholy as we ponder the lives entangled in this cycle of pain. As James Baldwin might reflect, it is in these stories of suffering and resilience that we find the true essence of our humanity.